Hello everyone. Hope I'm audible and visible to all of you. So today we'll be starting lecture 4, that is Mahajanapadas and Mauryan Empire. And again, there are certain amount of knowledge which are available. There are lots of knowledge which are available on these two particular topics, especially Mauryan Empire. But when we talk about Mahajanapadas, we are confining ourselves to Magadha. We keep on talking about Magadha. So Magad is one of the Mahajanapads, and you people must have realized by now that UPSC is exploring unexplored areas when it comes to prelims. So with each passing year, different kind of questions are coming, but it's not like there is a particular pattern which you can predict about UPSC, right? So again, we'll try to go into the unexplored area of Mahajanapadas. There are 16 Mahajanapadas given by or stated by Angutar Nikaya. Now, the question here is, what is Angutar Nikaya? What are these Nikaya terms? Like, what do they refer to? Are they part of any particular text? If yes, which kind of text? Then we have to go to each Mahajanpad one by one. All the 16 Mahajanpads we have to cater to one by one so that we know something or the other about them, some important facts. And one thing which will help you a lot in understanding these Mahajanpads are or is this particular map. You have to look at this map like you have looked at, just have a look at these maps from south to north. Ashmaka, Avanti, Kashi, Magda, Anga, Vriji, Malla, Kaushal, Vats, Panchala, Sursen, Matsya, Kuru, Gandhara, Kamboja. You have to look at these Mahajanpads. Most of the people, what mistake they do when they read about these Mahajanpads is they don't look at the map. They just remember, oh my God, Matsya has the capital at Viratnagar, which is Bharat, which is in Rajasthan. Or let's say Ashmaka, their capital was Podanyapura or Potali or Podana, which is in Maharashtra. But they are not looking at the map. You have to look at the map. You have to see that, let's say, Avanti is a Mahajanpad. There is a Vitravati river, which will divide Avanti into two parts, Northern Avanti and Southern Avanti. What is this Vitravati river all about? Where is this Vitravati river? And what is its present name? That thing you can only understand when you can, or when you are seeing the map again and again, just like you are seeing your girlfriend image. In fact, you have to learn or love this particular map more than you love your girlfriend or boyfriend. I'm seriously mean it. It's not a joke. You can take it as a joke, but it's not a joke. This is the single most important image for understanding 16 Mahajanpadas, and you have to keep on looking at it. There has to be a time. After a certain period of time, what you have to do is you have to take out a hard copy of this particular map and see these points, like see Avanti, and write some points about it based on whatever we have discussed up until now. So good evening, Vinay. So this is the point which you have to keep in mind. Okay, let's go back. So Mahajanpad and Mauryan Empire we have to talk about, and this is the map which we have to focus on a lot. And this will be our center of attraction today, this particular map, and we will look at it in such a way that you won't forget any of the 16 Mahajanpads and their important features. Before we do that, these 3 questions you need to answer, because once you are done with these 3 questions, your concept will be crystal clear. And again, this whole crash course, which has started with history, the basic idea is to give you conceptual clarity so that you don't mug up facts. Or if you're mugging up facts, you mug up as less information as possible, because most of the things are conceptually clear to you. So 6th and 5th century BC, there was a question which was in history optional or GS, I don't remember, in different in UPSC or state PSCs, that 6th century and 5th century BC was a period of economic, political and cultural revolution. And you have to elucidate that statement. When you are elucidating that main question, then your concept is getting clearer and you can use these information to eliminate option in pre. So why they are saying 6th and 5th century BC to be a period of economic revolution or political revolution or cultural revolution? Some people, like Pradeep was a guy who asked me that I do the white background thing. So I have done the white background thing. I think things look much more clearer in this. So any idea, what do you want to suggest regarding it? Why 6th and 5th century BC were cited as economic, political and the period of economic, political and cultural revolution? Give me some points. If you have any point, you can give it to me. Think about it. The more you think, the better you will become in these areas. Or the people, let's say, who watch it afterwards also, you can pause and you can think about it. And then you can also write in the comment section whatever your ideas are related to this particular question. Why it is a period, or why it was a period of economic revolution, political revolution or cultural revolution, or how? What points you will cite here or add here? Okay, I will give you 10 more seconds and then I will tell you the points. 6th and 5th century BC. In the previous lecture, we have talked about later Vedic period. At the end of later Vedic period, because we are knowing, or we already know that these later Vedic people, they were living in the Gangetic plains, which is not only one of the most fertile areas in India, but one of the most fertile areas in the world. I have said it so many times. You people will be like, sir, this is aged in our memory. So yes, because of that, what happened? Surplus production happened. That area was very fertile. That area is still very fertile. And that's why this Gangetic plain area, UP, Bihar, West Bengal portion, they are one of the most densely populated areas of the world, not only of India. So because of that, what happened? Because of higher productivity, surplus production happened. And we have discussed this multiple number of times now, that surplus production is a most important prerequisite for urbanization. So because of this, around or at the end of the later Vedic period, second urbanization happened. Second urbanization, which brought economic revolution. Second urbanization, surplus production, increase in agricultural productivity, all these points give rise to economic revolution, or gave rise to economic revolution. We are talking about the past here. And if we talk about political revolution, we have again talked about this whole concept. When, let's say, there are small villages. There are small villages. And all these villages, they go to a common center. Let's say this is an urban area. And they have their surplus production. And they are selling the surplus production in this urban area. When they have surplus production, somebody will come to take away their crops, because everybody, like, you know, that greed tendency that is there in some people. So these people who want to loot stuff of these guys who have brought their surplus production to urban areas, they need protection. And the protection will be provided by one people or group of people. If that is provided by one people, then he is the king. If it is provided by group of people, then they are Gana Sangha, in simplest terms. Tashi is saying use of iron and fertile area and surplus production. Very good, Tashi. So political revolution, because of these urban areas, development of urban areas, 16 Mahajanpadas will emerge during this particular 6th and 5th century BC. 16 Mahajanpadas. According to Angutar Nikaya. We'll talk about Angutar Nikaya. What is this Angutar Nikaya and what do they refer to? Just give me a second. Fine. Then cultural revolution part. If we talk about the cultural revolution part, what happened? Again, let's go back to the previous lecture of yesterday. Later Vedic period. In the later Vedic period, rituals and sacrifices, their importance, that increased. Because of that, what happened? Brahmanical supremacy increased. There were certain rituals and sacrifices which were known to only 2 or 3 Brahmins, and there were certain rituals which went on for years, 1 or 2 years. You may feel like, sir, this is exaggeration, but this is not. If you read about later Vedic texts and other texts, you will realize there were certain rituals and sacrifices which went on for months and months. So yes, because of this Brahmanical supremacy, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and the other people who are below the ladder, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they will react. And that will lead to cultural revolution. That will lead to emergence of around 64 heterodox sects. 64 heterodox sects, out of which you know about Buddhism, you know about Jainism, you know about Charvaka, Ajivika. If you don't know about them, I will make or ensure that you know about them, you understand their basic ideology. Because of all these reasons, this 6th and 5th century BC, they have been called as a period of revolution, economic revolution, political and cultural revolution. So hope you understood the basic concept behind this, what we have talked about here. 6th and 5th century BC, economic, political and cultural revolution. This will help you in pre, mains, interview, anywhere and everywhere. Now, let's come to the core area. So the core area for today is these 16 Mahajanpads, which you have to love. Like, you know, you have to just fall in love with these 16 Mahajanpads and not only Magadha. So 16 Mahajanpads, these Mahajanpads, who are talking about these Mahajanpads and which text we are referring to? We are referring to a text called Angutar Nikaya. Now what is Angutar Nikaya? What does Nikaya means? Anybody has any idea? What is this Nikaya? You will hear this Nikaya term a lot associated with different words like Angutar Nikaya here we are talking about. So any idea? Anyone? What is Angutar Nikaya? Tashi is saying Buddhist text. Very good. So again, let's go back a little bit. In the previous lectures, we have talked about Vedas. We have talked about Vedas, and when we were talking about Vedas, we have also discussed one thing, that Generally, when we talk about the parts of Vedas, people start talking about different Vedas. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sham Veda, Athar Veda. They are not different parts of Veda. They are different Vedas. Each Veda has 4 parts. Samhita, Brahmana, I'm not writing the full form. You can go back to the previous video. Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad. These are the 4 parts. And since Upanishad is the last part, it is also known as Vedanta. Fine. Just like Vedas have different parts, similarly, when we talk about Buddhist text or their holy scriptures, Buddhist holy scriptures, that is Pitaks. You call them Pitaks. Fine. Pitaks. You must have heard about Pitaks, but most of the people call it Pitakas. In actual pronunciation term, they are Pitaks. So when we talk about Pitaks, we talk about 3 Pitaks. And this is the order in which you have to remember it. So, Vinaya Pitaka or Vinaya Pitak. Please remember this. This is important from pre-perspective. Very important. Vinaya Pitak, Abhidhamma Pitak. And this is the order in which they were written also. Abhidhamma Pitak. Abhidhamma Pitak. And then the last one is Vinaya Pitak, then Sutta Pitak, and then Abhidhamma Pitak. So, Vinaya Pitak is the first Pitak which was written. Then you have Sutta Pitak. And then Abhidhamma Pitak. Vinaya, Sutta Pitak. And the last one is Abhidhamma Pitak. Abhidhamma Pitak. So, Vinaya Pitak, Sutta Pitak, Abhidhamma Pitak, you must have heard about these texts. And if you haven't, so you will hear about it again and again. So, these are the holy grails of Buddhist people. They refer to these books a lot, Pitaks, just like Hindu people refer to Vedas. So, Vinaya Pitak, Sutta Pitak, Abhidhamma Pitak. So, this is important. We will talk about Buddhism later on also when we are talking about heterodox sects. But their teachings are also important. And you may have read about it here, there and everywhere, because generally when you start preparation for any exam, you hear about these texts a lot. Although you do not know the numbering of it, most of the people believe that Sutta Pitak is the first, then Vinaya Pitak, then Abhidhamma. This is the order. Vinaya Pitak is the first Pitak, then Sutta, and then Abhidhamma. Can you tell me, Tashi is writing, can you tell me what is the difference between them? What does Vinaya Pitak talks about or Sutta Pitak talk about? What are their core attributes? Any idea? You can write it in the comment section if you have any idea about what does Vinaya Pitak, Sutta Pitak, Abhidhamma Pitak talk about. And then we'll come to Nikaya and then we'll come to Mahajanapadas. So 10 more seconds and then I will tell you what these Pitaks are. Okay, so Vinaya Pitak, rules and regulations for monks and nuns. In Vinaya Pitak, you have something known as rules and regulations. So you have different sanghas where Buddhist bhikshus and bhikshunis are living. We'll talk more about it when we are talking about Buddhism. Vinaya about Buddha ideology. No, we'll go there. So rules and regulations for monks and nuns, they are there in Vinaya Pitak. Sutta Pitak is the teachings of Buddha. Teachings of Buddha. Teachings. And Abhidhamma Pitak is like the ethical code of conduct. Ethics. They talk about ethics. And when we talk about ethics, I will just make you understand what Abhidhamma Pitak talks about. Let's say, when we talk about ethical traits or the traits of a civil servant, you all want to become a civil servant. So there is a committee which is known as Nolan Committee. And whenever I talk about Abhidhamma Pitak and ethics, I always come to Nolan Committee and they talk about certain traits of a civil servant. Via this example, I want to make you understand what is Abhidhamma Pitak all about and then we'll go to Nikayas. So what are traits of a civil servant according to Nolan Committee? And this will tell you about ethics. Traits of a civil servant. So Nolan Committee, what does it say? Nolan Committee. I will not write the full thing. I will give you a mnemonic for this. That is A high loose. A high loose. AHILOOS. Accountability you need to have. If you are a civil servant or you want to become a civil servant, you have to be accountable. Honesty is must. Then, see here, history and ethics are merging. and even polity and governance. So accountability, honesty, integrity, then leadership, then objectivity, you can write it down, openness, and selflessness. So these are some attributes which you need to have. Nolan Committee says these are the most important attributes which you need to have if you want to become a civil servant. So these kind of ethical attributes are being talked about in Abhidhamma Pitak, and that's how you will understand what is Abhidhamma Pitak. Traits of a civil servant, Nolan Committee, A high loose, just remember this, particular mnemonic: accountability, honesty, integrity, leadership, objectivity, openness, and selflessness. So these kind of ethical talks are being done in Abhidhamma Pitak. Now, just like Vedas are divided into Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad, similarly these Pitaks, they are further divided into Nikayas. So just like we were discussing it in the previous lecture that Upanishad has to be part of some Veda, similarly Nikayas, they have to be part of some Pitak. So Angutar Nikaya, this is your homework. Angutar Nikaya is part of which Pitak? That you have to find out. It has to be a part of either of these three Pitak, Vinaya, Sutta or Abhidhamma. Which among the three? That you have to find out. Now let's come to the elephant in the room. Who is the elephant in the room? Me? No, I have reduced my weight. At one time I was around 79 kg. I have reached down to 70 kg now. So I'm not the elephant anymore and I have to go down to 65. So the elephant in the room is these 16 Mahajanpads which most of the people don't like. Let's start from south to north and let's talk about them one by one. And let me first of all erase all these things. Even if I don't erase it, let's take another map, because when we erase things we waste a lot of time. So there are so many maps here I can show you. So let's come to this map and then we'll go back and see the previous text and everything. First of all, have a look at it. Ashmaka Mahajanpad. Ashmaka Mahajanpad. This is the only Mahajanpad. And again, these only things, the first things, they are very important. So this is the only, it is also known as Ashika. Ashika and Ashmaka, they are same, not different. They are same. Ashika, Ashmaka, and they are the only Mahajanpad which lies completely south of Vindhyas. They can give you this question. Which is the Mahajanpad or which Mahajanpad according to Angutar Nikaya lies completely south of Vindhyas? Lies completely south of Vindhyas. Fine. Their capital was Paudanyapura, which was also known as earlier Potali or Podana, and it is currently in Maharashtra. So these are some small but choti magar moti baatein, small but important stuff which you have to remember about Ashmaka or Ashika. Why I have deliberately opened this map, and I will keep on opening this map so that you can have a look at this particular image again and again and you remember it. Ashmaka, these are some important feature. Ashika, it is also known as, lies completely south of Vindhyas. The capital is Paudanyapura. They can also give you this name, Podana, Potali, and where it is located? Maharashtra. A high loose, Tashi is saying. Fine. So now Ashmaka, we have talked something about it. We will also see the other information related to it. We are currently focused on the most important part. Fine. Then let's talk about Avanti. Have a look at this Avanti and love Avanti. So Avanti, in earlier times, there was a river called Vitravati river, which divided Avanti into two parts. Vitravati river divided Avanti into two parts. And what were those two parts? North Avanti and South Avanti. So Ujjaini was the capital of North Avanti and Mahishmati was the capital of Bahubali. Mahishmati was the capital of Southern Avanti. And here in Avanti, there was a dynasty which used to rule. That dynasty was Pradyota dynasty. They were a very ferocious kind of a dynasty, not ferocious in a, like, I will eat you way. Pradyota dynasty, there was a terror, like kingdoms used to be scared of them. Even Magad was scared of them. At that time, the ruler, if I'm not wrong, Ajatashatru, he fortified his towns and everything so that he can protect himself and his disciple, means subjects from Pradyota dynasty. At one time, they even captured Magad, Pradyota dynasty. So very, very important dynasty. They can ask you from where they belong, like Avanti. Now, one question for you. This Vitravati. Hello, Anvesha. Sir, in Telugu books, Pothan is in Telangana. Sir. Pothan, and this is Potali or Podana. So this is little different. You can have a look at it. Fine. Fine, Vinay? Cool. So again, Vetravati River, there's a question for you people. If we talk about Vetravati River, what is the current name of this Vetravati River? Any idea? What is the current name of this Vetravati River? How do you know this Vetravati River? Like, what is the current name? Both sides, the capital was different, then how they were ruled and managed. So again, I will tell you that. I will tell you. So initially, they were Northern Avanti and Southern Avanti. Later on, they merged and their common capital was Ujjaini. You know, sometimes even in Mauryan Empire, when you will talk about Mauryan Empire after the death of Ashoka, it will get divided into two parts. Eastern Mauryan Empire, Western Mauryan Empire. One is ruled by his son, other is ruled by his grandson. So that happens. That happens. When there is disunity, that happens. Or there are other factors also. Disunity is not the only factor. Betwa River, as Anvesha is saying. Hope you understood, Pur. So Betwa River is the, like they can ask you here, Vetravati is the old name of which river? Betwa River. Pradyota dynasty ruled over here for some period. They even captured Magad. Later on, there will be a dynasty in Magad which will be known as Shishunaga dynasty. We will talk about this. Haranyaka dynasty, Shishunaga dynasty, Nanda dynasty, and then Mauryan Empire. We'll talk about them. Later on, this Shishunaga dynasty made Avanti a part of Magadha. So again, these are some small minute things which you have to keep in mind. The more map you see, the better you will become in these things. Fine. And if we talk more about, let's go to another map. Let's not erase it because again, when you erase stuff, you waste a lot of time. Now let's say we have talked about Ashmaka. We have talked about Avanti a bit. We'll see other facts related to them later on. Then let's say this is a dynasty called Chedi. Chedi dynasty. Fine. So Chedi dynasty. At one time, these particular people, these Chedi dynasty, they conquered Kalinga. Chedi people, they conquered Kalinga. Cool. What else? Their capital was Sotiwati Nagara. Their capital was Sotiwati Nagara, which is currently known as Suktimati, as you can see it here. Fine. Suktimati. Now the point is, where is Suktimati? Where will you find Suktimati, which was like, again, they can give you, Sotiwati Nagara is the old name of Suktimati. So Chedis once, at one point of time, they captured Kalinga and their capital was Suktimati. See, whenever you see such kind of question mark in any map, please understand that the location is not known. Later on, when we will talk about post-Mauryan period, in Kerala, there is a place called Mujirish. Mujirish, which was a very famous port town, which has been mentioned in so many ancient texts like Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. First of all, tell me in the comment section, have you heard about this Periplus of the Erythraean Sea? Anybody has heard about Periplus of the Erythraean Sea book? Ajatshatru, I think. Ajatshatru Udayan, who captured Avanti. Ajatshatru and Udayan both were part of Haranyaka dynasty. After Haranyaka dynasty, Shishunaga will come. Shishunaga will capture Avanti. So it may have happened that Ajatshatru Udayan, they may have captured it for some point of time, but after Shishunaga came, they captured it permanently. Fine. What we were talking about? Sotiwati Nagara, Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. Okay, so Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, the author is anonymous. We don't know because that book has been written long time back. We don't know the exact author of this book. But this book talks about Mujirish, which is in Kerala. But up until now also, we don't know the exact location of Mujirish. That is a speculation. Similarly, Suktimati or Sotiwati Nagara, you can see it here when you will enlarge it, or I think you can see it here right now also. You will see a question mark. We don't know the exact location of Chedi dynasty's capital, Sotiwati Nagara or Suktimati. Fine. We'll talk about these dynasties. Let's come a little bit east. Let's talk about Anga dynasty. Anga, Champa, Bolu Champa, Bolu Tara, something like that. There is a song here. In our times, people used to sing these kind of songs. Welcome, Anvesha. So yes, Anga, it is around the current area of Bhagalpur, Bihar. So I have done my schooling from Patna, and I have like houses in Patna and Bhagalpur, current houses in Bhagalpur, though I barely go there. So yes, Anga, Champa, it is associated with Bhagalpur and Munger region of today. And if you see this, again see the map here, Ganga river flows, and via this Ganga river, they used to go to Suvarnagiri or Suvarnadweep. At that point of time, that place was Thailand. People now also go to Thailand. some for different reasons, will not go there. So this Anga and Champa, it was a very major trade center. Via capturing, like people, Magad wanted to capture Anga because after capturing Anga, they could have followed this particular river and they could have gone and traded in the Thailand. Maybe they also wanted to go to Thailand, but again will not go there. So hope you are understanding what I am telling you here from the land of Ashoka. So Anga and Champa, very important. Bhagalpur and Munger region, very important from trade perspective. Ganga river is located here, and by following this particular Ganga, they used to go to Thailand. It sounds so wrong when I'm saying like this. So Magad captured Anga after a certain period of time. Fine. So again, let's not play with this map anymore. Let's go to another map. But let's keep on having this discussion. Let's talk about Magad. Magad we'll talk about later on because everything revolves around Magad. Or let's talk about Magad. So Magad, their initial capital was Rajagriha, and this will also help you in remembering Buddhist councils. When we talk about 4 Buddhist councils, there is a mnemonic for it, Ravapaka. Ravapaka, Rajgir, Vaishali, 4 Buddhist council mnemonic. Vaishali, PA is Patliputra, and K is Kashmir. So initially their capital was Rajgir, then they captured Vriji, this Mahajanpad, and they made Vaishali their capital, and later on they moved to a place which was known as Patliputra and they made their capital, and that's how Buddhist council also happened. First Buddhist council happened in Rajgir, then second in Vaishali, third in Patliputra, and fourth in Kanishka. We'll talk about them more. Just remember this particular mnemonic, Ravapaka. Okay. So Magad, Rajgir was their capital. Various dynasties ruled over it. The famous dynasties are like the Haranyaka dynasty, about which you know them like a lot. You are talking about Bimbisara, Ajatsatru, Udayan. I will tell you how to remember their names, these rulers' name. Bau Bau. Like when dog bark, they say Bau Bau. Bau Bau, Bau Bau. So you have to say Bau Bau. Bau Bau means B is Bimbisara, A is Ajatsatru, U is Udayan. And that's how you will remember the important rulers of Haranyaka dynasty. Bau Bau. What do you have to say? Bau Bau. Fine. So Haranyaka dynasty ruled. Then Shishunaga came. Shishunaga. And during this period, Shishunaga period, they captured Avanti. And then their Nanda dynasty came. And then displacing or replacing Nanda dynasty, you have your Mauryan dynasty. Mauryan dynasty, Mauryan dynasty, Mauryan dynasty. Fine. We'll talk a lot about this Magadha. So I don't want to talk too much here because I have to focus on other Mahajanpads which has been relatively ignored in most of the chapters. And they have been taught in a very boring manner. I want to make it interesting. So Magad, it had very fertile land. Rajagriha was fortified. Later on they also fortified Vaishali, Patliputra because there was a terror associated with the Pradyota dynasty of Avanti. Fine. They have fertile soil. They have iron ore mines. And later on there were 4 major Mahajanpad. One was Magad, second was Avanti, third was Vats, and fourth was Kaushal, Ayodhya, Ram Bhagwan's place. So these 4 were the most powerful Mahajanpads. Magad, Avanti, Vats and Kaushal. And finally, who will be the winner? It's like a World Cup match. Finally, the winner will be Magadha. And finally, even like Vats and Kaushal, they will go away. Semi-final is happening between these people, and the final will happen between Magad and Avanti, and Magad will be the winner, right? So we'll talk about this. We'll talk about a lot about Magad. So let's go to other Mahajanpads. Again, let's not. So we have talked about this Mahajanpad a little bit, Avanti a little bit, then Chedi we have talked a little bit, Anga we have talked a little bit, Magad we have talked a little bit. Let's come to Vriji, Vaishali, and then Malla. These 2 Mahajanpads are very important because most of these Mahajanpads, when you are looking at them, so these are monarchy where a king is ruling, but there are certain Gana Sanghas. Vriji and Malla, they were prominent Gana Sanghas. Gana Sangha means not a single ruler is ruling, a group of people are ruling. Vriji and Valsh means Malla. And Vriji, there were so many, like you have heard about Lichavi clan. You must have heard about it, or you will hear about it later on, Lichavi clan. So we are talking about 500-600 BC, Lichavi clan, and there were so many different clans which were there in Vriji, whose capital was Vaishali. And later on, Vrijji will be captured by Magadha. In fact, most of these Mahajanpad will be captured by Magadha. That is a no-brainer when we are saying that Magadha will become the most powerful Mahajanpad. Fine, Bau. Fine. So here, Vrijji, Gana Sangha and Lichavi clan was there. Most of the people, most of the scholars, most of the historians say that monarchy eventually won. Gana Sangha could not survive for long. Here you have to take the example of Vrijji or Vaishali, whose capital was Vaishali, and under whom there were different clans. Like, we are talking about 500 BC, then we'll talk about Gupta period, which will be there in 4th century AD. And if you remember, or if you know, if you don't know, I will tell you, Samudragupta. We'll talk about Samudragupta when we'll come to Gupta period. Samudragupta is known as Lichavi Dohitra. Lichavi Dohitra. Spelling of Lichavi is written different time, like this is one spelling, there is another spelling of it also, so don't worry about it. So Lichavi Dohitra, have you heard this word associated with Samudragupta? Anybody? You can post it in the comment section. Yes sir, I have. No sir, we are hearing it for the first time. So Samudragupta, who is a very prominent Gupta ruler, who will be coming in 4th century AD, he was known as Lichavi Dohitra. Have you heard about it? Heard Kita Asa, that means have you heard about it? I will give you 10 seconds. First time, his mother, yeah. Anvesha is saying from his mother's side. So his, what do you say, mother's father, they were from Lichavi clan. So this is an example. Lichavi Dohitra means grandson of Lichavis. So most of the scholars, when they debate, or let's say in mains or anywhere else, good evening Nitesh, let's say in mains or anywhere else, if you hear this statement, and this will help you in pre also, that Gana Sangha did not survive for long, monarchy ate them or monarchy captured them, you will say, dude, you are not entirely correct. See, there is a clan, we are talking about Lichavis, who were present in 500 BC and who are also present during the time of Samudragupta, because Samudragupta's mother was from the Lichavi clan, as Anvesha said. So they almost survived for 900 years, dude. So how can you say that Gana Sangha did not survive? Most of them may not survive, but it's not like every Gana Sangha was wiped out from this face of the earth by monarchy. That is not true, and you will give this particular example. So Vrijji and Malla, they were Gana Sangha for the most part. So Vrijji, capital Vaishali, later on they were captured by Magadha. Let's focus on Malla now. Malla is very famous. Why? Because there are two places. One is Kushinagar, other is Pawapuri. So Kushinagar, if I am not wrong, it is in UP, and Pawapuri, it is in Bihar. Pawapuri. Kushinagar and Pawapuri, they are two very famous places. Any idea why? Why Kushinagar heard these? So Kushinagar and Pawapuri, why are they important? So Kushinagar and Pawapuri, both these places were located in the Malla Mahajanpad. And this is very, very, very important because Mahaparinirvana of Buddha and Mahavira are associated with this Kushinagar and Pawapuri. Mahaparinirvana is the death part. So the death of Buddha happened in Kushinagar, which is in UP, and the death of Mahavira happened in Pawapuri, which is in Bihar, and Malla Mahajanpad is that Mahajanpad where both these places lie. And this is the most important attribute associated with Malla Mahajanpad, which you cannot forget. Mahaparinirvana is the term associated with Buddhism. So you cannot use the same term with Jainism, but hope you understood. Death of both these Buddha and Mahavira happened in the Malla Mahajanpad. Kushinagar and Pawapuri are the places, and these facts are very important from pre-perspective. In fact, whatever we are talking about or right now, these are all very important points which you have to keep on like hearing or make a note of it once you are done with this particular lecture. Fine. So, Vrijji, Vaishali, Malla. Now, let's go to another slide. Let's not make too many things here. So, we have talked about these Mahajanpads. Let's focus on those we have not talked about. Let's talk about Kashi. Kashi. Kashi Mahajanpad. Focus your attention on Kashi. So, Varanasi. So, in Kashi, there used to be rivers like Varun River and Asi River. Varun, Asi. So, because these rivers are there, Varun and Asi rivers. So, that's why this place is called Varanasi. Varun plus Asi, Varanasi river. Fine. So, Kashi Mahajanpad. Why is Kashi also famous? So, Kashi is also famous because Kashya, which are orange ropes, they used to be manufactured a lot in this Kashi Mahajanpad. Orange robes which Buddhist people wear. You must have seen these people wearing these Kashya robes, orange robes. They used to be created or manufactured in Kashi Mahajanpad. So maybe that's why there are different interpretations why Kashi is called Kashi. Some people say Kashya or orange robes used to be manufactured a lot in Kashi Mahajanpad, and that's why we call. So what do we call Mahaparinirvana in Jaina faith? Death. And there are different terms for them. Like we'll talk about it. There are different terms for them. We'll have a discussion when we are talking about Jainism per se. Fine. In simple terms, you can say death. He died. Mahaparinirvana is the term associated with Buddhism. Fine. So Varun and Asi river, and then you have Kashya orange robes. Kashi, Varanasi. And Kashi and Kaushal, they used to fight a lot. There used to be intense competition between Kashi and Kaushal. Later on, Kaushal absorbed or Kaushal captured Kashi. So remember these points. These are the important points. Fine. Again, if we talk about Kaushal Mahajanpad. Kaushal Mahajanpad associated with Ram Bhagwan's place. And again here also, like we have talked about Avanti, there was North Avanti, there was South Avanti. Ujjaini was the capital of North Avanti. Mahishmati was the capital of South Avanti. Vetravati river used to flow from between them. So Kaushal Mahajanpad, again here also there was, and there is, I think, a Saryu river which divided Kaushal into two different parts. And here they were fighting with Kashi and they absorbed Kashi, but later on Magadhs defeated them, and again Shakya Mahajanpad is not very far from them, and Buddha was from Shakya clan. So these are certain points which you have to keep in mind when it comes to Kaushal. Now when we talk about Vats Mahajanpad, we have talked about it, that the semi-final of these 16 Mahajanpads, the four major contenders were Magad, Avanti, Vats and Kaushal. And why Kaushal was Vats was a very important place? Because trading route, it lied on the Uttar Path. We have talked about Uttar Path. We have talked about Dakshin Path. Uttar Path is route leading to the north and Dakshin Path is route leading to the south. Who is known as Lord of Dakshin Path? Who is known as Lord of Dakshin Path? Any idea? Satavahanas were known as Lord of Dakshin Path, as Anvesha said. So keep these points in mind. So because Kaushambi lied on the Uttar Path, route leading to the north, it was a very important trading center, and that made Vatsa kingdom very rich. So this was also one of the reasons why it became a formidable rivals of Avanti, Magad and Kaushal later on. Fine. Then Surasena, Mathura was the center of Surasena, and Mathura school of art, you will hear about it when we are reading about post-modern period and when we are reading about Kanishka or Kushana ruler Kanishka. So Mathura school of art, and Buddhism had a very strong influence in Surasena region. Then Viratnagar or Matsya Mahajanpad, which is currently in Rajasthan area. You don't have to do PhD here, just small facts. Panchala Ahit Chhatra was the center around which Panchala region revolves. Now this is very important point. There is a very important point associated with Ahit Chhatra. See what happens. There are different historians, you don't have to do PhD here, I'm just giving you a clarity. So you hear about Gupta period being called a golden age. Then if you have read history, you must have heard, like Guru Raj is also saying Satavahanas, Anvesha, Vinay, very good. So you must have heard that Gupta period is called as the golden age of Indian civilization or ancient India, and then we say early medieval India is the dark age, or post-modern period is the dark age. So this is not the full story. Generally what happens, there are different groups of historians. One is nationalist historians. One group is of nationalist historians. Other group is of colonial historians. Colonial historians, as you can understand, when Britishers came, many intellectuals also came with them, so-called intellectuals, and these people, they started studying about Indian history, and they're like, oh my God, your post-modern period is so dark, your early medieval India is so dark. Then nationalist historians came. They're like, how dare you call our culture dark? So we will say modern period is the golden age, Gupta period is the golden age. Generally you associate golden age with Gupta period. So we are also countering colonial historians. That is one facet. How far Gupta period was golden age, that we can also always talk about or debate about. So similarly, we will talk about like early medieval India. When later on we'll talk about early medieval India, which is from 750 to 1200 AD. So these colonial historians like V.A. Smith, H.H. Wilson, these people, they started saying that this particular early medieval India was a dark age. And why they said dark age? Because they said that there were certain places like Ahi Chhatra, Kaushambi, you have seen Kaushambi here in Vatsa, they were abandoned. And we see evidences of deurbanization in early medieval India. What is deurbanization? Urbanization is when, let's say, certain areas, certain villages get transformed into urban cities. Deurbanization is when urban areas get transformed into villages. And they said that in early medieval India, cities like Ahi Chhatra and Kaushambi, they witnessed deurbanization. I feel Sangam period was also golden. We'll talk about Sangam period, we'll talk about Chola Chera Pandyas, we'll talk about Movendas, we'll talk about what they did and why they did what they did later on. So then you can always like think about whether it was golden or not. But yes, very fascinating period it is. So yes, because of deurbanization in Ahi Chhatra and Kaushambi, this was one of the reasons why colonial historians said that early medieval India was a dark age, and that there were different narratives. We'll talk about it. So remember these places, that's why they're also important. Kuru, Hastinapur, associated with Mahabharata. And it is believed, certain books says that the families of Yudhishthir, they used to rule over Kuru region, Hastinapur region. It also includes the present day Thaneshwar region. Thaneshwar region of Haryana, when later we'll talk about Harsha or Harshvardhana, he used to rule around that region, or Vardhana dynasty used to rule around this Thaneshwar region. Then later on they shifted their attention to Kannauj because the Maukri dynasty, something happened in Maukri dynasty, and Maukri dynasty capital was Kannauj. We'll talk about these dynasties when we will go there. We are currently very behind. They will come later on after Guptas. So because of these reasons, Kuru, Hastinapur, the Yudhishthir family used to rule over there. Their area also included Thaneshwar, etc., which will be later on ruled by Pushyabhuti dynasty. That's it. No PhD. We'll talk about them. I will tell you what are the areas where you have to do a little bit of PhD. Then Gandhara and Kamboja. Gandhara, Takshila you can see here. Panini, Kautilya, it is used to, like they used to say that Panini, Kautilya, Takshila University is a very famous university. They studied there, Panini and then Kautilya, they studied there. And like I will ask you one very interesting question. Why that upper area like Patliputra, Vaishali, Rajgiri, etc. has more conflict? Because it was a very fertile area. It was a very rich area. At that time, it was one of the richest area because surplus production. Again, we have talked about it, this Gangetic Plain region. Currently, we have like caste politics, class politics, and all those things are happening. Different kind of things are happening here. But at one time, Patliputra was the epicenter because this Gangetic Plain area, this is not only one of the most fertile area in India, it is one of the most fertile area in the world. I'm just answering a question by Purv that why it had so many conflicts. The region which will be rich, they will always have a lot of conflict. Example, you know, West Asia, oil, USA. I will not say anything more. So again, let's focus here. So Gandhara Takshila University. Let me ask you a very small factual question, which we will talk about later on also. Vikramshila University, or let's forget about Vikramshila for now. Nalanda University. Do you know who established Nalanda University? Whenever I ask this question in any lecture, I get one or two answers for sure. Who established Nalanda University? Nalanda University, present day Bihar. Who established it? You must have read it somewhere or the other. Gaza, Anvesha is saying, when it comes to conflict. So who established Nalanda University? Why I'm talking about this? Because I have to talk about Takshila University. So there has to be some linkage. Anybody who knows, even if you have known it factually, who established Nalanda University? Okay, so Anvesha is saying Dharampala. Or Kumargupta Vinay is saying, Kumargupta is the correct answer. So Nalanda University, Bihar, Kumargupta established it, Gupta dynasty. Now the next question is, who established this famous Takshila University where people like Panini and Kautilya studied? Any idea? Now this is a tricky question. Most of the people don't know about it. Most of the people, even factually, they know about, let's say, Nalanda dynasty or Nalanda University rather, Kumargupta, or let's say Vikramshila University, so they will associate it with Dharmpala, Pala dynasty. But when we talk about Takshila University, very few people have an idea about who made this particular Takshila University. In like such long time back, we are talking about Panini and we are talking about Kautilya, who will be there in 3rd, 4th century BC. And Then they studied in Takshila University. It's such an old university. Who established it? As Anvesha is saying, Achaemenids or Iranian people. Later on we'll see, during the time of these modern people, there were certain invasion, and even before them, there were invasions which were happening by Persian people, and we'll talk about them, who these guys were, Xerxes, etc. And then after that, these Macedonians came, the Greek people, Alexander the Great, these guys came. So the Iranian, the Achaemenid Empire, which you can see here, these people established Takshila University. Iranians, Achaemenid is a fancy name for Iranians. And they established Takshila University. Panini, Kautilya we know, Arthashastra he wrote. How do you know Panini? Have you heard about Panini? Who is Panini? When we have these interactions, you will remember Panini in a much better way, because UPSC does ask questions like who write Mudra Rakshasa or etc. etc. Different books they talk about. So Panini has written a very famous book which is asked a lot in different exams. So which book Panini has written? And he studied in this Takshila University, which was in Gandhara, Mahajanpad. Panini, Panini, Panini. So Panini wrote a book which was known as Ashtadhyayi. It's a very famous book on Sanskrit grammar. Let's go to another map. So Panini wrote something called as Ashtadhyayi. Ashtadhyayi. And this is a book on Sanskrit grammar. So please remember this. This is a very, very important book. Ashtadhyayi. You can check the spelling. That is not important. The point is you have to remember the name. Ashtadhyayi. Who wrote Ashtadhyayi? Panini. It is a book on Sanskrit grammar. Who wrote Mudra Rakshasa? Vishakha Datta. So these are some small but very important facts which you have to keep in mind. Fine. So again, Gandhara, Takshila University, etc. etc. Cambodia, Kapishi. Again, it lies on Uttarpath, and there are Ashokan rock edicts, Kautilya Arthashastra, which says that they later on shifted to republican mode of governance. Republican is a fancy word for Gana Sangha model of governance. Fine. So now we know something about these, and they lied on Uttarpath, route leading to the north, and this is Dakshin Path. So they lied on Uttarpath, so they were comparatively richer, which played a crucial role in Cambodia transitioning from Janpad to Mahajanpad. Fine. So these are small and minute things which you have to keep in mind. Now let's go back and now let's read these slides in detail. We have a basic idea about all these things. Now we'll talk about all these Mahajanpad from like slide perspective, and like we'll see some text. People who have like studied these Mahajanpads from map perspective for the first time, have you got something out of these things which we have discussed up until now? Did you understand these Mahajanpad a little bit better? The trick here is, did Cambodia term influence Cambodia? No, not really. Not really. We cannot say that. Even if they did, that can be a very small like coincidence, Anvesha. We have to search on that. We have to research on that. Fine. So food for thoughts, we have done this. Now, why we are talking about all these things? There are different texts, like we are talking about Mahajanpad and Janpads, and this particular slide is saying from where are we getting these information? I have given you so many information. This Mahajanpad lied here, there and everywhere. The question is from where I got this information. So there are different texts, and we have talked about Pitaks, Angutar Nikaya, that is a very important text. We have talked about that. Just like Vedas have different parts, Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad, similarly, Pitaks has different parts which are known as Nikayas. I have given you a homework that you have to find out. Angutar Nikaya is a part of Vinaya Pitak or Sutta Pitak or Abhidhamma Pitak. So this is one thing. Then we have Brahmanical texts. Puranas. Puranas are Shruti or Smriti. What have we discussed earlier in Vedic lecture? Is it a Shruti or Smriti? They have also talked about these Janpads and Mahajanpads. Purana, Shruti or Smriti? Pitak. Puranas. Puranas are Smriti. They are not part of Vedas, unlike Upanishad, which is the last part of Vedas, and that's why Upanishad is known as Vedanta. Epics. In Hindu or Hindi literature, there are two major epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So even Ramayana and Mahabharata talks about these Mahajanpads, not explicitly but implicitly. Like we have seen Kuru Mahajanpad, Hastinapur, and some people are saying that the family of Yudhishthir, they are ruling over Kuru Mahajanpad. So epics. Just remember, they can even ask you, what are epics? Ramayana and Mahabharata. Panini and his Ashtadhyayi, we have talked about it. And Panini studied in which university? Takshila University, that we have just discussed. Kautilya Arthashastra also talks about it. I'm not reading the slide now. This is a very fascinating slide. There is a reason why I have included this particular slide here. I could have excluded it. The reason is, you may have seen, if you have seen previous year question, and this is very important, and I will like ensure that you see previous year questions. So when you see previous year questions, you will realize these days, from last 3-4 years, UPSC has started asking which of the following are Buddhist text, which of the following are Jaina text. So this is my way of making you remember that Bhagavati Sutra and Parishta Parvan, they are Jaina text. And in these texts also, they are talking about Janpad and Mahajanpad. There are so many sources where there are mentions of Janpad and Mahajanpad. My major objective, if I'm showing you this slide, is that you remember it or you note it somewhere that Bhagavati Sutra and Parishta Parvan are Jaina texts. They will give you this question. They have already given these questions. Which of the following are Buddhist texts, Jaina texts? So that will help you in eliminating options like Sutra. When you see Sutra, etc., you may feel like, oh my God, this is a Hindu text. No, no, no. Every book which is ending with the title, like let's say Sutra, it doesn't mean it is a Hindu text. This is a Jaina text. Parishta Parvan is also a Jaina text. Fine. This is the major perspective. Rest all you can forget here. Then archaeology. Like again, when we have talked about the first lecture, which was sources and Stone Age. So there we have talked about two major sources, archaeological and literary sources. So these were literary sources. Archaeological source, we have seen a mnemonic for pottery. What was the mnemonic for pottery? What was the mnemonic for pottery? As Pradeep said, BOPN was the mnemonic for pottery. And again, if you go back and you revise that lecture on pottery, which was there in the Chalcolithic period, N is northern black polished ware. And we have seen that around 600, 700 BC till 200, 100 AD, they have arrived. And that's what they are talking about. That even from northern black polished ware, we are getting information about Janpad and Mahajanpad, just like we have extracted information for Chalcolithic period, where black and red ware predominantly in ochre colored pottery to a certain extent. What paddy husks they are containing, fishes paintings are there or not, or perforated jars shows they used to make wine, or jars with long necks used to show they used to store water. Similarly, we have deduced certain things about Janpad and Mahajanpad from NBPW pottery, which was there in that particular period. And they are saying that don't go on the name. It was not completely found in only northern India. It was not completely black either. And not always it was polished. So, as we say in Hindi, naam pe mat jaiye, apni akal lagaiye and eat Mentos. That don't go by the name, use your mind and eat Mentos. Very good. So what do you have to do? You have to eat Mentos. And this is girls' toes. Stupid joke. So again, rise, beginning of the settled lifestyle. Here they are talking about how these Mahajanpad came into being, and we have talked about this, that the major reason and how they came into picture, surplus production, blah, 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 and that's what they are talking about here. First they became Janpadas, and later on when they started acquiring different territories around their area, they became Mahajanpads. Shift of economic and political capital, all these things they are talking about here. Iron ores, and iron ore will play a very crucial role, as we have discussed earlier in later Vedic period. Iron tools were used to clear the forested area of Gangetic plains. Iron tools can also be used as weapons. Because of this, what happened? There were two major Mahajanpad which had a lot of iron ore mines. One was Magad and second was Avanti, and that's why they played the final of Mahajanpadas. Semi-final was between, what were the other two major Mahajanpad? Semi-final happens between four people, right? Four people, four entities. So, and final happened between Magad and Avanti. What were the two other players of the 16 Mahajanpads? BOP of Nandu. Very good, Anvesha. Magad, Avanti, and what were the other two Mahajanpads? Magad, Avanti, Vats and Kaushal. So this you have to keep in mind. And that's what they're saying. Better iron tools happened, better weapons happened. And that all led to the rise of these Mahajanpad. And we are predominantly following Buddhist literature, Anguttara Nikaya, which is a part of Pitak. Again, they have given the names. What's Avanti, Kaushal and Magad? The semi-final happened between them. The final happened between Avanti and Magad. Cool. Then we have, like in this particular slides and everything, you will see there are multiple, like let's say if this particular PPT is of 104 slides, I think 20, 30, 20, 25 slides will be revolving around this map, because this map is important and you have to keep on looking at this particular map. Nature of these formed states, somewhere like monarchy, somewhere Gana Sangha. And we have talked about Vajji and Malla. Vajji, why it was famous, Vaishali was the capital, and they had so many clans. Lichavi was one such clan. Lichavi Dohitra. Whom do we call Lichavi Dohitra? Keep on revising these stuff also. Because if I go on a monologue, it will not help you. But if you keep on interacting with me, it will help you to remember things in a better manner. So who was Lichavi Dohitra? Kaushal and Vats. Samudragupta, as Vinay is saying. Again, same thing they are saying. There are certain Gana Sanghas and there are certain monarchies. And they are located mainly in the foothills of Himalayas. Mahajanpad Anga. We have talked about all of them. From south, we have went to east, and then from there we have went to north. What I have given here is, I have given them in alphabetical order. A comes first. So here we are talking about Anga or Champa. Bhagalpur, current Bhagalpur Munger region. Ganga river is located here, and from here they used to go to, you can see here, Suvarna Bhumi. It is not Suvarnagiri, it is Suvarna Bhumi. Suvarnagiri is a place here in southern India, which was one of the centers of Mauryan Empire. So Suvarna Bhumi is current day Thailand. And we love Thailand, don't we? For different reasons. So people in ancient time also used to love Thailand, and they used to look for reasons to go to Suvarnabhumi. Sometimes they used to tell their families that they are going to Suvarnabhumi. Sometimes they went without telling them, or they said that they are going for trade. So Anga and Champa was a major center from where people used to go to Suvarnabhumi, and people were desperate to go to Suvarnabhumi, and that's why they wanted to capture Anga, and finally Magadha succeeded in capturing Anga. So Bimbisara. Again, I have given you a mnemonic. Bimbisara, if somebody asks you, he is a part of which particular dynasty, what will you say? Bimbisara, he is a part of which particular dynasty? Okay, Tashi has said Bao, and that is Haranyaka dynasty, right? Bao, P-A-U. This is the mnemonic which you have to remember for remembering the major rulers of Haranyaka dynasty, Bimbisara, Ajatsatru and Udayin. So that's what they are saying. Bimbisara conquered Anga Mahajanpad. You can have a look at it. We have talked about the major features. Then Ashika Mahajanpad, which is also known as Ashmaka Mahajanpad, or Podanyapura or Potali or Podana, which many believe it is in Maharashtra. Some people, as somebody stated in the comments, that some people believe that it is in Telangana. It's debatable, but modern historians, most of them are converging on Maharashtra. Fine. And this is the only Mahajanpad which lies completely south of Vindhyas. Now there is a homework for you people. Take a map of India, locate Vindhyas, locate Satpuras, locate Aravali. There's a very interesting question which I saw somewhere, that Aravali doesn't pass through which of the following states. And if I give you options, like there were different options, and Aravali, related to Aravali, that Aravali does not pass through which of the states. And they have given options like Haryana, Punjab, Gujarat. And this is a very interesting question. And you understand this once you locate these. So Haryana, Punjab, Gujarat, D, none of the above. Nota. So what is your answer? Aravalli does not pass through which of the following states? Haryana, Punjab, Gujarat, Nota. See here, history and geography are merging. Aravalli does not pass through which of the following states? Haryana, Punjab, Gujarat and Nota. Vinay has said Nota. None. See, understand this. Aravalli does not pass through Punjab. It passes through Haryana. It passes through Gujarat. So Nota cannot be the answer. It does not pass through Punjab. And for that, you have to see the map. You have to see from where Aravalli passes. These kind of questions, we should not be getting it wrong, because these are very, like, simple factual questions where if you make the maps, you locate them, you'll be able to, hope you are understanding what I'm saying. So again, we have discussed about Ashmaka lies completely south of Vindhyas. Godavari river is, like, it is located around Godavari river. So these are small minute facts which we have talked about. Avanti Mahajanpad with Travati river, as you people have already told me, it is the current Betwa river, Kane-Betwa linking project. Now there is a homework for you. Read about Kane-Betwa linking project. So current affairs, history, and even your geography, Indian geography is merging here. So Vetravati, Betwa we read when we talk about Avanti. So now your homework is to read about Kane-Betwa linking project. Where is Betwa river? Where is Kane river? Which particular wildlife sanctuary, etc. certain portion will submerge when this linking project will happen. So that's how you connect the dots. Mahishmati and all these things we have talked about. Avanti was an important center, and they were ruled by a dynasty which was a very, like, fearsome or very powerful dynasty, Pradyota dynasty. Ajatashatru, the king of Magad, fortified Rajagriha to protect it from invasion led by Pradyota. We have talked about it, how powerful Pradyota was, and even Magad was terrified by it. Later on in Magad, there will be a dynasty after Haranyaka called Sishunaga, which will completely capture Avanti. Fine. So again, you can read about all these things. Last king Nandi Vardhana of Avanti was defeated by king Shishunaga of Magad. Why these rulers are especially important? Because when we talk about Buddhist councils, so first Buddhist council, that will happen during the reign of Ajatashatru, who is from Haranyaka dynasty. Second Buddhist council will happen during the reign of Sishunaga's successor Kalashoka, who is from Shishunaga dynasty. So that's why you have to remember these dynasties. Not all regional, etc. dynasties are important, but because during their reign, Buddhist councils have happened, so that's why they become important. Fine. Chedi dynasty, we have talked about Chedi. Sotiwati Nagara was the capital. Sotiwati Nagara is Suktimati. We don't know the exact location of Suktimati, and once they have also captured the Kalinga region, which is there in Hathi Gumfa inscription of Khadavela. We have talked about so many inscription when we were talking about sources and Stone Age. We have talked about Girnar, Junagadh inscription, Ashoka inscription, Allahabad pillar inscription, Ahiol inscription. We'll keep on talking about these inscriptions, and you can make a list of inscriptions and you can add Hathi Gumfa inscription of Khadavela. We'll talk about it later on as well. This is important. Fine. Then you have Gandhara Mahajanpad. Takshila University was located here, and Panini, who is the author of Ashtadhyayi, Kautilya, who is the author of Arthashastra, they have studied here. It is also located on Uttarpat, just like Kamboja Mahajanpad. Fine. And I also told you one thing in the previous lectures, that Kautilya Arthashastra and Panchatantra written by Vishnu Sharma. Many people believe that they are like, it's not a work of single author. Arthashastra is not the work of a single author. Panchatantra is not the work of a single author. The amount of, like, information and the way they have been written, the different style of writing, that shows that even like your Arthashastra is written by multiple authors, and Panchatantra by Vishnu Sharma, which was written during the Vakataka period. Gupta and Vakatakas were contemporaries. It was also written by multiple authors. We'll have a discussion about them, like Panchatantra, Vishnu Sharma, when we are in the Vakataka period, Gupta Vakataka period. Fine. Then we have talked about Kamboja, which is also there on the Uttarpat and very close to Gandhara, and Kautilya Arthashastra, Ashoka Edict 13, we'll talk about them. They followed Gana Sangha model, just like Vajji and Malla. So the more you see these maps, the better you will become at remembering these facts. So see, I will tell you what I have done here. Initially, I showed you the map and we discussed all these things map wise. Now I'm showing you all the information, so you are reading it for the second time. Now let's say you hear this video later on also, you will read it for the third time. And as Oxford survey says, repetition is the mother of learning. Repetition is the mother of learning. I must have told you repetition is the mother of learning. I must have told you there is an Oxford survey which states about how to absorb textbook like a sponge. Repetition is the mother of learning. Do people know how to absorb textbook like a sponge? What is the Oxford, like what does an Oxford survey says about it? You can Google about it and they say, let's say there is a slide, there is a PPT of 104 slides and you have to read it in 2 hours. How you can read it in like multiple ways, or how you can do multiple iteration in 2 hours? Do you know how to absorb textbook like a sponge? Do you know about that Oxford survey? Anyone? Yes or no? Tashi knows it. Fine. So please, if you don't know it, Google about it. And if you're not able to understand it, you can ask me later on. I will tell you what is this, how to absorb textbook like a sponge. Fine, then you have Kashi Mahajanpad, Varun and Asi river. Kashi Mahajanpad, Varun and Asi river is there. And there was fight between Kashi and Kaushal Mahajanpad. The more maps you see, the better you will become in this. Kashi was eventually absorbed into Kaushal kingdom, that we have talked. We have also talked that there are certain scholars who say that Kashi Mahajanpad is named as such because they were very proficient in making kashyas, which are the orange brown robes which Buddhist monks wear. So these points which you have to remember. Fine. Kaushal Mahajanpad, here which is the river which is dividing into northern and southern parts? Saryu river. These are important facts. Like in Avanti we have discussed Vitravati river. Similarly in Kaushal you have to remember Saryu river. Fine. The rest all things we have discussed. Shravasti Kusha, again you don't have to do PhD here. Just remember King Prasenjit. He is associated with this Kaushal Mahajanpad. Later on everyone will merge with Magadha because Magad will become the most prominent Mahajanpad. Fine. The most important part here is Saryu river and King Prasenjit. Kuru Mahajanpad, Hastinapur, and we have talked about, some people believe and certain books says that, Buddhist tradition, Anguttara Nikaya says that it was ruled by Yudhishthir family, the family of Yudhishthir in the Prastha region. Thanesar, which will be later on ruled by Pushyabhuti dynasty of Pushyabhuti dynasty, and the most famous ruler of Pushyabhuti dynasty is Harsha. Fine. Magad, capital Patliputra, but initial capital was Rajagriha or Griv Raja. Just remember the old name, they can ask you this. What is the old name of Rajagriha, Griv Raja? And we have also discussed the Buddhist council. First Buddhist council happened in Rajagriha, Griv Raja. And what was the mnemonic of 4 Buddhist council? How would you remember these 4 Buddhist council? What was the mnemonic for it? Ravapaka. Ravapaka is a mnemonic to remember 4 Buddhist council. Pay attention to the capital words. Rajgir, Vaishali, Patliputra and Kashmir, as Tashi is saying. Malla Mahajanpad, very important because the death of Mahavira and Buddha, which happened in Kushinagar and like Pavapuri, Kushinagar, Buddha, Pavapuri, Mahavira, that both belong to Malla Mahajanpad. They followed Ganasangha model, and this is important. They can ask you where these people died. Kushinagar, UP, Pavapuri, Bihar. You have to remember them. Very, very, very important from pre-perspective. Again, that's what they have said here. Initially, they have monarchical government, then they shifted to Ganasangha model. Lichavis. See, understand one thing. Closer to Malla is Vriji. Vriji is a Gana Sangha, and they have different clans. One of these very prominent clan is Lichavis. Since they are very close to each other, that's what they are saying. Mallas appear to have formed an alliance with the Lichavis for self-defense. Matsya Mahajanpad, Viratnagar, Bairat, current Rajasthan region. That's it. You don't have to do PhD here, because if you start doing PhD on 16 Mahajanpads, you will lose your energy to a certain extent. There is something called as cost benefit ratio when it comes to cracking UPSC pre, and you have to understand where you have to invest your energy and where you have to not invest your energy. So Panchala Mahajanpad, Ahit Chhatra, we have talked about Ahit Chhatra, that in early medieval India, this city will be like turning into a village, deurbanization will happen. Fine. And then there is like again North Ahit Chhatra was like the capital of this North Panchala was Ahit Chhatra. Again, you don't have to do PhD here. Just remember Kannauj was located in Panchala Mahajanpad. Kannauj, Kanya Kubja. This is actually very important. Why it is important? Because see, now we are talking about Magadha, we are talking about Mauryans, we'll talk about Gupta. So you will see for almost like 1200 years, almost 1200 years, Patliputra or Bihar will be the center of attraction. The whole political activity or the major political activity will be revolving around Bihar, Patliputra. But around 7th century, 606 AD, around that period, the center of attraction will shift from Patliputra to Kannauj, when Harsha will make his like capital as Kannauj. Earlier their capital was Thanesar. So then the center of attraction will shift to Kannauj. We'll also discuss why the center of attraction shifted from Patliputra to Kannauj. What happened? What led to this change or shift in center of attraction? So this is also important because Kannauj will later on become a very prominent city. So the old name of Kannauj, Kanya Kubja, that is also important. You have to keep it in mind. Then Saur Sena Mahajanpad, which is there. Mathura is here. Mathura later on, when we'll talk about Kanishka, or Kushana ruler Kanishka, Mathura School of Art, Gandhara School of Art, and then here in Andhra you will have Amaravati School of Art. Then we will read about Mathura, very famous Buddhist center it was, and later on it will also become a very famous, different sects will be here, Krishna sect, etc. will develop here. That's what they are saying, Krishna worshipping. Again, no need of doing PhD, just remember, like we have talked about in Panchala, Kannauj lied. Similarly, Saursena, Mahajanpad, Mathura lied. That's it. We have enough things to read about in these Mahajanpads. Vajji Mahajanpad, Vajji and Malla, you will not forget. We have talked a lot about them. And Lichavi was one of the prominent clan among 8 clans which were there in Vajji. 8 prominent. And capital was Vaishali. Again, later on they will be captured by Magadha. What's Mahajanpad? Kaushambi, as we have discussed, it lied on a trade route, and that's why it was very rich. That's what they are saying. Noted for its fine cotton textile. It had a monarchical government, very prosperous city where a number of prosperous merchants resided, and they were connected by a major trade route, the route that led to the north, Ujjain and Kaushambi. Okay, now the next part here is, what were the factors which led to the rise of Magad? This question can be asked in pre also, this question can be asked in mains also, different factors, political factors, economic factors, and cultural factors, etc., etc. So what will you say? Political factors, there were so many different or able rulers which came, different dynasties which came, and these powerful rulers played a crucial role in making Magadha powerful. Then if we talk about the economic factors, you can say that this particular area was very rich. If we talk about from fertile soil perspective, surplus production happened, and this is one of the most fertile area, not only in India, this Gangetic Plain, but in the world. And then you can talk about they had the capitals which were fortified. Rajagriha was fortified. Patliputra was surrounded by river Ganga. So whenever any enemy used to attack, they used to see it, because it's not like, you cannot imagine Patliputra to be the current Patliputra where there are so many good roadways developed. So earlier, whenever enemies used to come, they used to come via the river. And you can sit here, and again I've told you, watch Bharat Ek Khoj on YouTube. You can see it. Not now, you can watch it later on. You will see what I'm saying. So they will be sitting along the banks of the river, these soldiers of Magadha, and those guys will be coming via, the boats, small boats, and they'll be like, dude, you have come here, let's go to the jail. So all these things played a crucial role. Fortification of Rajagriha, Patliputra being surrounded by a river, all these factors made them powerful because they could see what enemies were doing, but enemies could not see what these guys were doing. So many factors. And then iron ore mines were there. They used these iron ore tools to clear their lands, to like make their soil or make more use of their productive soil or fertile soil to make the tools. They used elephant. So multiple factors played a role in the rise of Magad. You can have a look at these slides. Most of these factors, you already know about them. So they used elephant, and via these elephants, like, elephants used to trample upon the people, and people were like, oh my God, I will die. So elephant will say, that is the purpose of ours. We want to kill you. Later on, these elephants, they will become a burden when we'll talk about Rajputs and why they were defeated by Turks. So we'll talk about it when we are discussing early medieval India. Fine, agricultural factors, the lands were fertile, multiple crops. And again, in the previous lectures, I have told you about the mnemonics. Whenever we talk about crops, I come back to Kharif and Rabi crops, because UPSC has directly asked questions on Kharif and Rabi crops. Here history and geography is merging. What were the mnemonics which I told you related to Kharif and Rabi crops? Any idea, anyone? Kharif and Rabi crops. Bros, you people forget so soon. Like, we have, like, Kharif crops, the mnemonic was Ko Bama ki Tu Jori. So cotton, bajra, maize, tur, jowar, rice. And for Rabi crops, the mnemonic was Vi, Ba, Gram. Wheat, barley, gram, rapeseed and mustard. So Kharif crop and Rabi crops, please remember these mnemonics. This will help you in eliminating so many questions. I have already told you earlier in the previous lectures that questions have been asked on like Kharif crops 2004, 2013 and also some years which I don't remember. So you have to be on the lookout for these kind of questions. Fine. Again, iron was there in Avanti also, and that's why the final will be played between Magad and Avanti when it comes to who will be the final conqueror. Factors, trade route, they lied on like Ganga, or these rivers also played a crucial role in trade and commerce. We have just discussed why it was important to capture Anga, because after capturing Anga they can go to that Suvarna Bhumi, Thailand, for trade, as we have discussed earlier. Trade was the only purpose. Okay. Again, political, there were so many able rulers who came, and again, so many factors play a crucial role. And that's why people say, generally what happens, this is a very interesting analog, like this whole thing is a very important case study when it comes to Magad, when you see so many factors. It's just like, if you see this, you realize that Carpe Diem is a very, very, very important philosophy. Just give your best and then things will automatically happen for you. Carpe Diem, what does it mean? Just give your best every day and leave everything to God. Sometimes we think, what will happen when this happens? What will happen when that happens? You cannot think too much. Just give your best, things will happen. The more you help yourself, the more factors will start working for you rather than against you. Hope I'm making some sense here. Again, foreign invasion. So we will talk about these foreign invasion in the next lecture, that from when these Mahajanapads happened, Haranyaka dynasty, etc. happened. So Achaemenians, they started coming from the northeast part, the Afghanistan, the area Takshila, etc. which you are seeing, from that part. And they started, Darius and all other rulers, Urzex, they started attacking those regions and they made their Chhatraps. So all these foreign invasions, then Macedonians came, the Greek came, Alexander the Great, all these rulers, the foreign invaders, they made the rulers of India realize that, bro, we have to unite. If we don't unite, somebody else will come and they will capture us. Unfortunately, this feeling of unity was absent when Turkish ruler QGG were invading us in the early medieval India. Qasim, Ghazni and Gauri. Maybe if Rajputs were united, then maybe Turkish or Delhi Sultanate we would not have studied. Now, because of lack of unity among the Rajputs, we have to now read about Delhi Sultanate, and our UPSC syllabus has increased, which is such a sad thing now if you think about it. So again, this is one of the reasons that Achaemenians and these Macedonians, about whom we'll talk about in the next lecture, they came and they started attacking. So Indian rulers, they felt like, we have to unite, bro. And Kautilya was like, you have to unite, and Chandragupta Maurya will now unite this particular Indian subcontinent, and he will form Mauryan Empire. So that's what they are saying, that we have to unite. If we don't unite, these foreign invaders, these Achaemenians, these Macedonians will rule over us. We will not let that happen. So Mauryan Empire happens. They will control these Macedonians, Greek, and their overlords or their successors. And then you will see that Seleucus Nicator, who was a Greek general, and he tried to attack, but he was not able to defeat Chandragupta Maurya. He will send some ambassador. Megasthenes will come. He will write Indica. You know, these things are happening. But once Mauryan rulers start becoming weak after Ashoka, these Macedonians, these Greeks who are there in the northwestern part, the present day, you know, the Peshawar region, the Takshila, the Kamboja region, they will attack, and the Mauryan Empire will divide into two parts. So that's why unity is very important, as you can see from this particular image. Seize the day, carpe diem. Fine. Expansion of Magad. See this map. This is important map. You must have seen it somewhere else also, but sometimes we don't pay attention. So this is the core region, the black one. This is the core region around Rajagriha. When Haranyaka dynasty came, whom you now remember from the mnemonic Bao, Bimbisara, Ajat-Satru, Udayin, Bao. So Haranyaka dynasty came, it started extending to this area. Champa, Kausha, means Kashi, Kaushal, all these areas were captured. Vajji, they were captured. And then when Sishunaga came, they also captured Avanti. So this is important, and you have to pay attention to these maps. They are very important maps which help you understand how things happen. And then the timeline, the ruling dynasty. So here there is a question mark, because we are not still sure about when Bimbisara ruled, etc., or when this dynasty was found, because this is too long time back and there are too many speculations and debates about it. But we know he was the first important ruler, Bimbisara, and he used to, like, he had a very, he was not like, we have to fight and we have to defeat all the rulers. He was like, let's do friendship, bro. And he believed in that movie of Hrithik Roshan, Mujhse friendship karoge, or something like that, Mujhse dosti karoge. And if some people are like, I want to marry my daughter with you, he was like, okay, let's do the marriage thing rather. So he was like, he married, you know, his bride brought him Kashi as dowry. Then he married his wife. One wife was from Vaishali, third wife was from, you know, Madra clan of Punjab. So he believed in marriage, and he believed, like, if more weddings happen, more gifts will come. And Bimbisara was like, I want more gifts, I want more wives, because they will take more care of me. So these things, it makes us feel like love is so important in our life. And Bimbisara believed in true love, as we can see. Okay, moving on. So Bimbisara, he was imprisoned by his son Ajat-Satru. Later on you will see that after Ajat-Satru, all the people who will come, they will kill their fathers, which is actually a very gandhi baat, and we have to keep that in mind. So again, Ajat-Satru, he will retain Kasi, he will add, again, you don't have to remember all these things, bro. This is way beyond your syllabus. What you have to remember is the mnemonic which we have discussed. Bimbisara, Ajat-Satru, Udayan, they are part of Haranyaka dynasty. You cannot forget that. Udayan will later on focus on Patliputra. And these are the important things. You don't have to focus too much here. What is important here is Ajat-Satru, since he arranged the first Buddhist council, you have to remember him. Similarly, Kalashoka, who is the ruler of Sishunaga dynasty, he arranged the second Buddhist council. That's why he's important. And also which dynasty he belonged to. After that, what he did, how many wives he had, and what wife brought what as dowry. You cannot remember these facts. This is near impossible things to remember. And you don't have to focus there as well. Fine. So what is Gandhi Baat? This is Gandhi Baat. According to Buddhist texts, the 4 kings who ruled Magadha after Ajat-Shatru all killed their fathers. This is a wrong thing. We should not kill our fathers. But as we say in polity, as we say in IR, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Oh my God. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I gave all these things just for you to like, you know, when you see these interesting stuff, oh my God, Bimbisara is our hero. He married so many girls and from different clans. So you remember things in a better manner, just to make things interesting. Even if you forget whom he married, Doesn't matter. Fine. Ajatashatru was succeeded by his son Uday. Now the center of attention or attraction or center, the pivot of Magad. Just like in Friends, Ross says pivot. So now the pivot of Magad will be Patliputra. Earlier it was Rajagriha, now it will be Patliputra. And it will remain Patliputra for almost 1000 years, next 1000 years. And again, Nagadashka was the last king of Aranyaka dynasty. You don't have to pay attention here. UPSC does not stoop, like, there are certain exams who ask so much factual question. You never know what UPSC will do, but there is a very low probability that they will ask you who is the last ruler of this dynasty or that dynasty. UPSC doesn't go that way. Fine. Again, after that, Shishunaga came. Why Shishunaga is important? Because the next ruler after Shishunaga is Kalashoka. And during his reign, second Buddhist council happened. So that's why Ajatashatru, Kalashoka, they became important. Ajatashatru from Haranyaka dynasty, Kalashoka from Shishunaga dynasty. Fine. An expansion of Magadha, the timeline, then Nanda dynasty came. They captured a lot of areas. But the last ruler, Dhananand, he was not a very good guy. It's just like when we talk about Lodi dynasty, we'll talk about BSI. Behlol Lodi, he was the founder, then Sikandar Lodi, and then Ibrahim Lodi. The Ibrahim Lodi guy, he was not very fond of people. He was not he did not know how to interact with people. And he was not very good towards his people. So even his near and dear relatives, they called Babar that please come bro. We cannot, jailo this guy. Jailo means we cannot tolerate this Ibrahim Lodi guy. Please get rid of him. So same was the case with this Dhananand. If you again see Bharat Ek Khoj and you see this Mauryan Empire, Guru sir, where can we take this PDF? I will talk about this PDF issue, Guru Raj. Don't worry about it. What you can do is, once this lecture is also over now, just write it in the comment section where we can take the PDF. Up until the time when you're not getting the PDF, just have a look at this particular video once or twice and just note down important points. You don't need to do anything more than that, and then solve some mocks. Fine. So what we were talking about, similar was the case with Dhananand. People were tired of this guy, and again, if you watch Bharat Ek Khoj, which is based on discovery of India, so you will realize certain things. What things you will realize? That maybe Dhananand, in a way, demoralized Kautilya. And Kautilya was like, I will take intikam. In Hindi movies, you have, main intikam lunga, I will take, badla or revenge. And then he, called his Shishya, his disciple, Chandragupta Maurya, you will take revenge for me and you will defeat this Dhananand guy. So similar kind of scenario. Again, we don't have to go this in the story mode, but hope you understood this. So this is the expansion phase, how the Magadha expansion happened. You can have a look at it. Again, multiple number of times you will realize how these things are panning out. And in Nanda dynasty also, empire expanded. But in, Mauryan dynasty, the expansion happened at a much higher level. And this is Suvarnagiri. That is very important place that went away, but hope you understood. Suvarnagiri, people say that gold was also found there in that particular area. Cool. Nanda Empire, 323 BC. Now, we'll talk about Mauryan Empire. So we have a brief idea. We know something about Mauryan Empire, how this thing panned out. And there is a chronology here, like Haranyaka dynasty. Then you have, sometimes they can ask you this question. They can give you these dynasties and they can tell you to arrange them in chronological manner. So Shishunaga dynasty. Then you have Nanda dynasty. And then you have this Mauryan dynasty. So just remember the chronology. And in that, Haranyaka, Ajatashatru, and in Shishunaga dynasty, Kalashoka. These are the things which you have to keep in mind. I learned Kautilya was a staunch patriot from that show. Patriot means, how can you say patriotism? I don't know. Patriotism is a big word. At that time, the nation state concept, how big that concept was at that particular point of time, we don't know. Maybe he was thinking about a good ruler who should be ruling. So again, there can be different interpretation, Anvesha. But yes, do watch that show in your free time. So Nanda Empire, Magad pre-expansion, we have seen this particular pre-expansion diagram and everything. So you can have a look at it again. That will give you more clarity, and then we'll move on. Fine, let's move on. So again, what are the sources from where we are reading about this? See, Jaina text Parishta Parvan, we have talked about it. They have also talked about Mahajanpadas. And then Bhagavati Sutra also talks about Mahajanpadas. Parishta Parvan is also talking about Mauryans. And again, here they are talking about who were Mauryans. Were they from, like, they were Brahmana or Kshatriya or lower caste? So most of the books, they are converging on the fact that they were from low origin. They had a low origin. Here again, the purpose is not to show which origin they had. Here the purpose is to make you remember these texts. You will not forget Digha Nikaya, Mahavamsha, Divyavadna. You will remember these. These are famous books. Parishta Parvan, Bhagavati Sutra. Parishta Parvan, you are seeing it for the second time in this particular lecture. Now, Mudra Rakshasa. UPSC has already asked questions on books written by Vishakha Datta. So, Devi Chandraguptam. If I'm not wrong, this is also a book which was written by Vishakha Datta, and UPSC has already asked a question on Devi Chandraguptam. Fine. So, Mudra Rakshasa, Devi Chandraguptam, these are the names which you cannot forget. So, most favorite topics kaun se hain ancient history ke? Most favorite topics. Mere? I love everything about history. My favorite topic is, what topic I like the most? I think I like this part. I like all the part till post-modern period. After, like, Gupta period starts, the history is fascinating, but my favorite part is, like, from Indus Valley civilization till post-modern period. I love it a lot because, you know, there are so many things which we hear for the first time. Cool. So here the purpose of this slide is to make you remember these books. Jaina text Parishta Parvan, second time you are seeing, third time I am reiterating or saying this. Mudra Rakshasa, Vishakha Datta. Devi Chandraguptam is also written by Vishakha Datta. In this book, Devi Chandraguptam, he has talked about Gupta rulers. There was a ruler in between Samudragupta and Chandragupta too, about whom nobody discusses. But Devi Chandraguptam discusses about that guy. Ramagupta, if I'm not wrong, his name was, and it is said that Chandragupta too killed Ramagupta and married his wife. In a way, he married his bhabhi, and there was a reason for that. So all these things we'll discuss when we are talking about Gupta period. But again, Vishakha Datta, Devi Chandraguptam, already a PYQ has been asked, so we should be knowing about it. Mudra Rakshasa story, I think I have told you this particular story, but if I have not, I will tell you right now. So Rakshasa, he is a minister. He was a minister in Nanda Empire. Rakshasa, minister in Nanda Empire, and Kautilya wanted him to be a part of his side. Like, he wanted him to be, like, to be a part of the Chandragupta Mauryan army and to help Chandragupta Maurya, because he was a very good guy, this Rakshasa. And Rakshasa was like, no, 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 whoever rules over Magad, I will serve him. Currently, Nanda Empire is ruling over Magad, so I will serve Nanda Empire. I am not going anywhere. And then something happened, and how Kautilya enticed him to become a part of Mauryan, like, kingdom, and Mauryan, because he knew he was a very able guy. So that is the story of Mudra Rakshasa. Mudra Rakshasa, Rakshasa is minister. It does not have any other meaning. Again, low origin, high origin, it doesn't concern us. And again, archaeological and numismatic source. See, when we talk about Mauryans, there are three major sources. All these texts are fine. They are a way of, like, making you remember the names. But the three major sources are, first is Ashokan inscription, and there also 14 major rock edict, 13, and then there is one special Kalinga edict. They are very important. UPSC has directly asked, where is Kalsi located? Where is this located? Dhola means, you know, different place. Jogada located. So you have to remember. Yaragudi located. So you have to remember the location also. Now, the question is, sir, location question has already been asked by UPSC. Should we remember all the 13 major rock edicts or not? I will tell you that in just few moments from now. So three major sources of Mauryans are Ashokan inscription, one. Second is Arthashastra by Kautilya. Arthashastra by Kautilya. And third is Indica by Megasthenes. These are the three major sources. The rest are secondary sources, be it anything. Fine. So please remember this. Panchmark coins. Again, when we have talked about sources in Stone Age, we have talked about that the earliest surviving coins which we have seen in Indian subcontinent are Panchmark coins, which were also found in Mauryan period, made of silver. UPSC has already asked question on it. Then when we were in later Gupta period, we have talked about Krishnala, Satmana and Nishka. Anyone who has watched the later Vedic period or Vedic period lecture, do you remember Krishnala, Satmana and Nishka? Krishnala, Satmana and Nishka. Anyone? Can you tell me? Tell me something. Tell me something. Krishnala, Satmana and Nishka. Have you heard about them? What were they? Krishnala, Satmana, Nishka, 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 Shatmana. These were the gold coins which were supposed to be used in later Vedic period, right? Krishnala, Satmana, Nishka. But the physical or tangible remains of Krishnala, Satmana and Nishka we have not found, and that's why we say Panchmark coins were the earliest surviving coins which we have found in Indian subcontinent. Please do not forget Krishnala, Satmana and Nishka. It's like you have found a new lover, so you have forgotten about your ex-lover. We never forget lovers, be it ex or new. But again, why you have so many lovers? Either you love somebody truly or don't love at all. Oh my God. So these were Panchmark coins made of silver. We have seen it in the sources lecture also. So please pay attention and don't forget these facts. And then the beginning part, Chandragupta took advantage of the public resentment against Dhananand. We have talked about Dhananand, how in some ways he reminded some scholars or historians of Ibrahim Lodi also. We'll talk about Ibrahim Lodi later on. The dates vary. See, in some sources, it is said that Mauryan Empire ruled from 324 to 187 BCE. Somewhere it is said that from 322 to 185 BCE. It varies. Somewhere it is showed that from 321 to this. So again, these are the dates. You don't worry too much about the dates. Just remember certain important facts. Chandragupta Maurya, he is the founder of Mauryan Empire. He followed Jainism. You know, and during his period only, Jainism will get divided into Shwetambar and Digambar. Shwetambar, people who wear clothes. Digambar, they do not wear anything because they believe that, you know, aparigraha, non-possession. When we came, we were naked. When we will go, most probably we will be naked. So we have, like, you know, there is a Hindi saying also, na kuch leke aaye the, na kuch leke jayenge. So we have not brought anything here and will not take anything from here. So why bother? Why get ourselves involved in materialistic possessions? So Shwetambar, Digambar, will talk about these people. So Chandragupta Maurya, Jainism. Then his son was Bindusara. Now I will tell you about one confusion which happens generally. So you have one ruler whose name was Bimbisara. And then there is another ruler whose name is Bindusara. And people are like, oh my God, they are same but different. Here you can use that thing, same but different. Bimbisara and Bindusara, they sound same but they are different. This Bimbisara was the earlier ruler who was from Haranyaka dynasty. And Bindusara, he is from Mauryan dynasty. Now the point here is, how will we remember, sir? You teach history, subah, sham, morning, evening, you eat history, you drink history. So, and you drink other stuff. So the point is, you remember these things, but how will we remember these things? It's not like we're reading and, like, you know, eating history all the time. So the point here is, the basic mnemonic is, see here. We have M, here N. So in English alphabet, M come first and then come N's. So Bimbisara came first and then came Bindusara. So Bimbisara is Haranyaka dynasty, Bindusara is Mauryan dynasty. Don't forget it. People generally get confused here. Fine. Hope you understood what I told you here. Bimbisara, Bindusara, Bimbisara, Haranyaka, Bindusara, Mauryan dynasty. Fine. Now here, when you talk about Mauryan Empire, I feel so happy when I talk about these guys, because see, Chandragupta Maurya, he is a Jain. Then his son, that is Bindusara, he will, if I'm not wrong, he will follow Ajivika sect. And his son Ashoka, he will become a Buddhist. So three people, three different religion, and that is also important from exam perspective. So Bindusara, he will follow Ajivika sect. And then later on, Bindusara's son Ashoka, that is very known to everyone that he followed Buddhism. Now there are two sects, Buddhism, Jainism, we all know, or we all have heard about it. Ajivika and Charvaka, they are also known as Lokayat school. Generally we have less idea about them. So Charvaka school or Lokayat school, they are materialistic school. They believe that everything is there on this earth only, even if you have to take loan to enjoy, so enjoy. The purpose of life is enjoyment. So that means if there is any friend of yours who believes in Charvaka or Lokayat philosophy, never ever give them a loan. Never give them even 50 rupees or 10 rupees because his purpose in life is enjoyment. Charvakar Lokayat, materialistic. Ajivika philosophy, they revolve around the saying that everything is preordained. That is called Niyati philosophy. What does it mean is, let's say you are reading so much and this and that. They say that whatever you have to become, you will become in life. So everything is preordained. Everything has already been written. You must have heard about it. Some people saying that yaar, jo hai hona hai niyati mein, that will happen. Jo hoga. So whatever has been written for you, that will happen for you. So that is Niyati philosophy, or everything is preordained philosophy. We'll talk about the positive and negative of both these philosophies when we are talking about these sects in detail later on. Fine. Again, so Chandragupta Maurya, he was known as Sandrocotus. So here there are certain factual information. Which ruler was known as Sandrocotus? And then see, I have told you, foreign invasion, we'll talk about in the next lecture, we'll talk about Iranian and Macedonian invasion, etc. and post-modern period again, which is relatively unknown to most of the students who prepare for UPSC. So you will realize that these guys, it's not like Seleucus Nicator is sending gifts, he's sending Ambassador Megasthenes out of pure love, that I love you. No, it's not love. It's compulsion. It's, he has been forced. His hands are tied. He has been defeated. So he has to accept the subordination of Chandragupta Maurya. But these Greeks who were like at that time Macedonians, because they came from Macedonia region, which was a part of Greece earlier. I think North Macedonia has now said that they are independent. There is a debate going on there. So again, these Macedonians, they were waiting for an opportunity. And later on, these Indo-Greek kings, when the Mauryans will become weak, they will again attack. Cool. So Megasthenes was sent by Seleucus Nicator, and he is very famous for the book Indica. But in this particular book, Indica, he wrote so many not so good things, not so true things. We'll talk about that later on also. And here it is written, Jainism, Shravan-Belgola. Shravan-Belgola is a very famous Jain site. Sitana Vasal, we'll talk about Adi Channalur, we'll talk about all these sites later on when we are talking about Jainism. And I have already told you that division of Jainism into Shwetambar and Digambar, that happened during the period of Chandragupta Maurya. There is a very big story here that during the Chandragupta Mauryan, Chandragupta Maurya period, what happened? Famine happened. A very big famine happened in Mauryan Empire, because of which he went to south. He went to this particular place, Shravan-Belgola. And along with him, this Bhadrabahu, he also went. And there were other people, Stulbhadra and his followers, who stayed in Magadha. So later on, when the famine thing ended and Chandragupta Maurya or Jaina, like this Bhadrabahu and his followers, went back to north, they saw that Stulbhadra and his followers, they are wearing white clothes. They're like, dude, why are you wearing white clothes? We had a pact that we will not wear anything because we are Digambas. Originally, all Jainas were supposed to be Digambas. He was like, no, I will wear white clothes. I like white clothes. They look good on me. So that's how this whole Shwetambar sect came into existence. This is just a brief overview. This is not I was not exactly there. Scholars were not exactly there. I'm just giving you a So hope you're understanding what is happening. And then Shwetambar and Digambar sect happened. There are other differences also between Shwetambar and Digambar, which we'll talk about when we are talking about Jainism later on. Nihilistic philosophy. Fine. So again, Salekhana, Santhara, we'll talk about these practices also. What does it mean? Salekhana in Jainism, like when we talk about Buddhism and Jainism, there are many people who say that Buddhism became very popular, Jainism did not become very popular. So some people say that Buddhism followed the middle path, Ashtangika Marg, Visa Lane, VISA-LEMM, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right meditation or right concentration. These are eightfold path of Buddhism. They advocated a middle path. Jainism went too extreme, like Salekhana or Santhara is one such extreme example, where if they have to leave this materialistic world, they will forget eating, they won't even drink anything, and then they will die. So some extreme practices, they are saying that every object has soul, inanimate object, even stone has soul. Let's say, you may have seen some people who when they hit a door, they will say, sorry, I do that. And according to Jaina philosophy, this is a very good thing to do, because every object they believe, be it a door or anything, they also have a soul. So if you hit accidentally a door, say sorry to it. So does the same famine happen to Buddhist sect? No. Buddhist sect is a different thing altogether. We'll talk about them, why they divided. So this is about Jainism. Devanam, Priya, Priyadarshi, these titles you generally associate it with Ashoka, but it is said that Chandragupta was the first who took these titles. Again, not that important, you can forget it, but don't forget that he was a Jaina and his son Bindusara was an follower of Ajivika. These are important facts. Rest all facts, you can easily read it. in your spare time, that is not important. Amitocrates, Amita Ghata, who is called Sandro Quarters, these are factual information which you can always have a look at it. Like you can have a look at them. And again here, it should not be Chandragupta conquest, it should be Bindusara's conquest. Fine. Then Ashoka came, and here he was the viceroy of Takshila and Ujjain. I will talk about it. And then you must have heard about Kalinga war that changed his perspective. And then he focused on Dhamma Ghosha rather than Bheri Ghosha. These are the keywords which you have to remember. What is Dhamma Ghosha? Then there is something called as what is Bheri Ghosha? Dhamma Ghosha. So Bheri Ghosha is victory by war, and Dhamma Ghosha is victory by Dhamma. So initially he was a follower of Bheri Ghosha, victory by war. He was fighting one war after the other. There were different texts which stated that Ashoka had 100 rulers. So there was a time lag here. See, 272 BC, some says 268 BC. There are certain Buddhist texts which says that it took him 4 years to become actual ruler because he had 100 brothers and he killed all of them except one, and that brother was Tissa. Again, you can watch Bharat Ekho, and killing 100 brothers is not an easy task, bro. It takes time, and it took him almost 4 years. So when you're looking at this, you realize, and this is not exactly, I'm not saying that this is a true story. Not everything which is written in these texts are true. We always have to corroborate it with other sources. We have discussed this earlier. But this is a story that and you may have heard it, that he killed his 100 brothers except one, that is Tissa. And it took him around 4 years, because killing brothers and that many brothers takes time. So again, Bheri Ghosha, victory by war, he was little cruel, but when he saw the massacre which happened in Kalinga, so many people died, he realized that, dude, I have to focus on Dhamma Ghosha now, victory by Dhamma. And then all these terms are written, you can have a look at it. Third Buddhist Council happened during his reign, and I will tell you the important points here. Most of the things we know, but certain points we have to remember, certain terms you have to remember. Dhamma Ghosha, Bheri Ghosha, and then he propounded his Ashokan inscriptions. Like there are different Ashokan inscriptions. There are 4 major types of inscriptions. Then there are major rock edicts. You also have to understand what is the difference or what are the differences between these edicts. Then you have minor rock edicts. Then you have major pillar edicts. Then you have minor pillar edicts. So what is the difference between them? As the name suggests, you people already understand what is the basic difference here. As the name suggests, rocks and major inscriptions. You have written a lot of things there. That is major rock edict. Rock, you have written small information, a small inscription is there. That is minor rock edict. Pillars, you have written major inscriptions there. That, oh my God, everybody should be following non-violence. You should not kill animals for no reasons. You should respect upashakas, shamanas, etc., etc. And if it is written on pillar and it is a major inscription, major pillar edict. If it is written on a pillar but it's a very minute portion of an inscription, minor pillar edict. Out of all these 4, what is the most important? Major rock edict and their location. That is very important. You cannot forget it. No way at all. Now the next part is, do we have to remember all the rock edicts, all the 13 major rock edicts and one separate Kalinga edict? 13 major rock edicts I will show you. First thing first, what you have to do is, you have to remember their location, which I will show you. Fine. These inscriptions, we are able to decipher them because of James Prinsep, who has deciphered Brahmi and Kharosthi script. Fine. And again, there are discussion when we go to history mains, GS mains, or let's say you talk about it from history optional perspective. People say that, okay, these Ashoka's Dhamma, they are in a way promoting Buddhism. Then there are different historians who says that no, it was an ideological tool to consolidate his far-flung empire. Nowhere in his 13 major rock edicts, which you will see, he has explicitly written that please follow Buddhism. If you will not follow it, I will kill you with my eyes, akhiyon se goli mare, or with my arrows or bombs. No, he has not written anywhere that please follow Buddhism. No, he is just talking about general things, that don't kill unnecessarily, respect your elders, respect shamanas, respect upasakas. There will be Dhamma Mahamattas who will be means promoting Dhammas. All these things. Nowhere it is written that please follow Buddhism, please, pretty please. No. So again, I will show you the whole list of 13 major rock edicts. Out of all those 4 types of edicts, major rock edict, minor rock edict, major pillar edict, minor pillar edict, I am telling you again and again and again and again, you have to focus on major rock edicts. Fine. And there also, there are certain things. Again, here, the basic in our term, it is said that bol bachan. You can have a look at it that we should always, in our schools also, wake up at 5 a.m., do Gayatri Mantrochar and, Om Bhurbhuvaswa and all those stuff, respect your elders and never cheat on your girlfriend. All these things, basic human courtesy are there in Ashoka's Dhamma. And now, let's talk about, we'll go to these edicts again because they are very important. I have told you that there are three major sources when it comes to Mauryan Empire. First is Ashokan inscription, second is Meghasthenis Indica, third is Arthashastra Kautilya. So here, I don't know what things Meghasthenis was drinking at that point of time. He wrote certain things which are not exactly true, that no one in India could marry outside their genos. Even now, we feel like if I'm a Brahman, let's say I'm a Mathil Brahman, so I will try to marry a girl who is a Mathil Brahman because our cultures are similar. But it's not like, no, I cannot marry anyone Rajput or other caste. No, it happens. Similarly, slavery was there. Similarly, this was not the division which Meghasthenis is saying. 7 classes, philosophers, farmers, shepherds, artisans. This is like, something was wrong with Meghasthenis. It's not like everything which he has written is wrong, but these kind of classification which he has done has been debated a lot by historians, and most of them now agree on the fact that most of these things which he is saying is not entirely true. Unlike and we can rely more on, he is obviously lying. He is not lying. Maybe the information, I will tell you when we will talk about early medieval India. So you will hear about Kalhans, Rajtarangini and Al-Baruni's Kitabul Hind or Tarki ke Hind. So you will realize that Al-Baruni, he talks about a lot of places. He is a polymath. He knows a lot of subjects. He will talk about Kashmir, and then he will say that Kashmir is very insular in nature. Kashmir does not allow many people to enter in its territories, right? So he extracted or took different sources, different books, and from there he deduced certain things. Maybe same thing happened with Meghasthenis Indica when he was writing his book. Maybe he has, rather than going to different places, he cited certain sources which were not entirely true. So we cannot say that he was lying. We can just say that his source may have been wrong. Unlike Meghasthenis Indica, Kautilya Arthashastra is comparatively better. So here, Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, Maya, Upeksha, Indrajal, 7 ways to deal with neighboring countries. And these are the terms which we still use. What is Sam, what is Dan, what is Dand, Bhed? You can have a look at it. So Kautilya Arthashastra gives you relatively more correct information as compared to Meghasthenis Indica according to different scholars. This you have to keep in mind. Fine. And then he has talked about here that king is the center around which everything will revolve. He is the Nabhi. You have a Nabhi in your stomach around here. Oh, I cannot show it here. So yeah, so he is a Nabhi. So here, you don't have to remember Nabhi, etc. You just have to remember what does Amatya stands for. What does Durg stands for? It is a fort. If you are proficient in Hindi, you can deduce the meaning of Durg. So these words and their meaning you should be knowing rather than like each and every word. You don't have to worry about it. So Amatya word will also here when we'll talk about Vijayanagar and other even Marathas when we'll talk about this word. Amatya will keep on coming, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Here in Mauryan administration you will hear about something known as Rajukas, who were ruler officers. So these terms are important because people are very afraid about these terms. People who prepare for UPSC, they're like, oh my god, sir, so many terms. So Rajukas are ruler officers. Then there are Pradeshikas. They are district officers. So these are some important terms which you have to keep in mind. And again, when you will see them again and again, you will remember them. So don't worry too much about it. Saptang theory, that Swamin is the king and around him all these we have seen. Durg is fort, Kosha treasury. Then provinces, this is important. We have already talked about Uttar Path and Dakshin Path. We have talked about it. Uttar Path, route leading to the north, capital is Takshila. Dakshin Path, route leading to the south, capital is Suvarnagiri. Some people say gold was also found here. And then there are other two things which we generally don't talk about. Avanti Path, which is Ujjain. Avanti, we are talking about Mahakumbh right now. One Kumbh also happens in Ujjain, like around Ujjain. Betwa river is there, right? And Allah, like the current Ujjain, or means Mahakumbh is happening around Allahabad. So Avantipat, Ujjain, and then Kalinga, Toshali. So these are important, and we have talked about Pradeshikas, they are district officer, Rajukas, they are ruler officers. The more you hear about them, the more you will remember. This is Suvarnagiri. There is a question mark here. That means even now people are not very sure about its exact location, but that's why there is a question mark here. Yeragudi, etc., Tosali, Dholi, these are important places. Jogada. You have major rock edict here also. We'll see we'll look at the major rock edict map as well. provincial and local administration, tax system, somewhere it was 1/3, somewhere it was 1/4 to 1/6, here it was 1/4 to 1/6. These are factual points which you have to keep in mind. Don't worry too much about it. Then different inscriptions. When we will read it from mains perspective, we will also, even when we are reading about Iranian invasion or Achaemenian invasion, we will understand that these Iranian people, they came before this Mauryan Empire happened. So when we will talk about these inscriptions, they will keep on coming later on also. You will see how they are different from Achaemenian pillars and how they are similar to Achaemenian pillars, and how they are similar to Macedonian pillars, how they are different from Macedonian pillars, because all these invasions happened right during or before the time Mauryan started ruling, or Mauryan Empire started ruling. Fine. Cool. This map is important, and here also the major rock edicts are very important, like Sannati, Sopara, this one, Yeragudi. Focus on the square part here. Then Dholi, Jawgada, which is in Odisha. You have to remember it. Whatever way you want to remember it, you take a map, you locate it, Kalsi, which is in Uttarakhand, then Kandhar, Sabasgadi, all these places which has major rock edicts, Girnar, Junagadh inscription, already we have read about it. So all these places become very, 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 very important, and you have to remember them. So this is your first thing first. And many people feel like, sir, this is just like, in cricket you must have seen that generally what happens when, let's say, Steve Smith played up, or maybe there was a bouncer by Bumrah and he fended it, and that ball was like, it jumped up high in the air and it went to a place where there was no fielder. And then there was a fielder which was placed there. So just like that, that means something is happening because something else has happened before. So the reason here why I kept this particular image here is, many people are like, sir, you are telling us to remember these major rock edicts just because UPSC has already asked question on this? Yes, that is the correct reason here. Generally in cricket it is said that don't do this thing, don't follow the ball, but here you have to follow the ball. Here you have to follow the PYQs. In UPSC you have to follow the PYQs. More so for history because it is predominantly static in nature. Fine. So this is a Mughal era painting of a Pakistani fielder, and it looks so wow, just like a wow. Cool. So Ashokan edicts, again here all the Bol Bachchan etc. is given, or description is written, Magadhi, different scripts have been used here. It has been deciphered by James Prinsep. You can have a look at it. We have discussed it and we'll keep on discussing it. There are 4 categories I have told you. The most important category is major rock edicts and termed as 14, like there is Kalinga edict, and we'll talk about it. And here these major rock edict, their location is very important. He has not talked about his personal life here. He has not talked about exclusively about Buddhism here. And these things you have to keep in mind. Fine. And these are some of the, all the major rock edicts. If first thing first, what is your first work? You have to remember the location of all these major rock edicts. Once you are done with the location of these major rock edicts, you can now go one by one to these major rock edicts, what they are saying. And you will realize that they are saying the general stuff. And you can deduce these stuff after having a look at it once or twice. Major rock edict 1, prohibition of animal sacrifice, blah blah blah. Rock edict 2, social welfare. Rock edict 3, liberty towards Brahmanas and Shamanas, who are like monks. Rock edict 4, policy of Dhamma, and no lack of disrespect towards Brahmanas, that should not be done. And again, Dhamma Mahamattas, people who have been appointed to see how much Dhamma has been implemented. Rock edict 6, instruction to Dhamma Mahamattas, what they can do and how they have to report to the kings. The Rock edict 7, toleration, all of you please coexist peacefully and denounce those forces who are trying to separate us. Rock edict 8, Dhamma Yatras he will be taking. 9, attack ceremonies performed after birth. Don't do these many ceremonies and rituals. Rock edict 10 talks about fame and glory. Just focus on following the policy of Dhamma. Again, these are very general philosophy. Nowhere you are saying that please, you have to follow Buddhism. Please. No. Major rock edict 11, further explanation of the policy of Dhamma. Then 12, appeal towards toleration. Again, he's continuously talking about these things. Paramount importance in understanding the spoken policy of Dhamma. And that's why major scholars, historians, they believe that Ashoka, and they say that this is not a promotion of Buddhism, these rock edicts. or these inscriptions, it is just an ideological tool used by Ashoka to consolidate his far-flung empire. Just like later on when we are talking about Akbar also, so we'll talk about his Deen-e Ilahi Sulh Kul. So many people believe that that was also similar to Ashoka's Dhamma, where he was not trying to bring a new religion. The main purpose of his was to unite people belonging to different creed and caste. Cool. And then what happened after Ashoka's death? These Greek people who were silent or who were sending ambassadors, Seleucus Nicator, Megasthenes, they were waiting for an opportunity. And there, when we'll talk about it from Main's perspective, Mauryan Empire, you will see that Ashoka started following Dhamma Ghosha rather than Bheri Ghosha, victory by Dhamma rather than victory by war. Many people believe that because of this standing army, they got weakened to a certain extent. All these things happened, and the successors of Ashoka's, they were not very able, because of which Mauryan Empire got divided into two parts. Western part was ruled by his son, eastern part was ruled by his grandson. Western part will be taken by these Bactrians. Bactrians are Indo-Greeks, the people who are still there, the Greek people who are still there, even though Alexander has died, and many, like, Alexander has died and he did not directly invade India, but the Greeks stayed here in the northwestern region. They were called later Bactrians, and then they were waiting for an opportunity. And that's why people say that even if you are weak, pretend to be strong. Because if you show other people that you are weak, they will try to take advantage of you. Just like Bactrians took advantage of the weakened Mauryan Empire. And later on, in the eastern part, this last Mauryan king was Brihadratha, who was assassinated by Pushyamitra Sunga around 185 BCE, and then Sunga dynasty came into existence. That's it. Now let's try to solve this question. What is the answer of this particular question according to you? Fine. And this is a homework for you people. I will tell you the answer in the next lecture. Whatever is your answer, you can post it in the comment section. The question is in front of you, right? And as Rajpal sir is saying that, you have to give the answer of this question, right? Aap dona, that means you have to give the answer. That's what Rajpal sir is saying. He is the best, he is the cutest. So that's it for today's lecture. I will see you people tomorrow, and you can post your answer of that particular question in the comment section. Take care, be blessed, tata, bye bye.